purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives.
I'm Fender Benavides, sales and finance for Drive Promoters in Crumbling. We have over 1,200 vehicles in our dealer group. Guaranteed financing available. No credit, bad credit, or new to the country. I am here to help. Salamat po.
Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra Building. Foodie World has 75,000 square feet of imported and domestic products, with a large selection dedicated to our Filipino kababayans. With an in-house butcher, variety of seafood, and produce from around the globe. Open every day until midnight. Foodie World, 1 block east of number 3 Road off Sea Island Way in Richmond. Centrally located in the Richmond Auto Mall since 1984, Richmond Honda features a large selection of Honda certified pre-owned vehicles. Inside the showroom, Honda's newest models are displayed for viewing, and the dealership is staffed 7 days a week for financial consultation.
All the stories that you're going to hear tonight are personal in nature, some of which can encroach on dark topics as addiction, abuse, self-harm. And you may get triggered by them, and if you do, there's a beautiful lounge to the back of XY that you can go down, chill out, get your composure. When you're ready, you can come and join us. Welcome everyone to My Story Mondays. I'm your host, Winston Young. I had a lot of time to reflect on what's happening and what occurred to me when I spoke to all of the speakers and got introduced to their stories, that there is a fundamental theme that kind of popped up. Usually I can see it at the end of the show. This time I saw it at the very beginning, and that's a theme of change. Each individual speaker has their own version of it. And with this renewal coming in September, there's also going to be some changes at My Story Mondays. And if you would like to know what's going on, I just ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, because it'll all be announced there. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you in September with a whole bunch of new concepts and ideas that are coming down the pipeline. So with that being said, in this whole theme of change, when I started this event to create the stage, it wasn't for me to share my journey and to share my story. It was to create a platform so people can come up and share a moment of their lives and impact someone else. Because there's someone in the audience or on the other side of the screen watching this on the internet or on TV that really probably sitting there is like, you know what, my life sucks, I'm going through this and I don't know what to do. And then they just self-isolate, the whispers go on in their head, and then they just feel really, really alone, and they get stuck and they don't know how to get out. So as I mentioned earlier in my pretty warped past, which I've learned to embrace and not to ignore, failure was not an option. And I didn't understand where that came from until one day I was working, and then I actually challenged the universe. Well, at the time I didn't believe in the universe. I just challenged whomever was in the sky, and it turned out to be it's my grandfather. I said, I, I can't fail. So he looked at me in his wise old way and said, okay. And he took it all away. And when I say he took it all away, he took it all away. I didn't hit rock bottom because I was just too smug to understand that this was a lesson in humility. Because, it's like, what can you be without cash, toys, and everything that you're flashing around? So I hit rock bottom, or what I called rock bottom, was far from the bottom, and then built it all back up again because I just couldn't fail. I just told myself, I can't fail. The world is full of people with excuses. I'm not going to be one of them. So I built myself back up. And then I said it again. It's like, what can I not do? I remember saying that. I said out loud, what could I not do? And then my grandfather, again, probably in the sky, just looked at it, shook his head, and said, you know what? You just don't understand the value of a hard-earned dollar. And he wiped it all away again for the second time. I got the hint the second time around to keep words like that to myself. But what I learned from this, even though at that point in time it was just to prove to the world that I wanted to be somebody, was that when it was all gone, the only person that I could rely on was myself. But looking back with the eyes that I have now, I was really looking at it from a really warped perspective, because looking at it from the way I was really excluded me from the rest of humanity. With that being said, our next speaker went through a journey where she understood the concept of not failing. And I would like to learn what that is. McKay Kasdorf.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. Not long ago, I was running the business with my husband, and I was asked at a networking group what I'd do. And, I gave my normal spiel that I usually do, and I knew exactly what to say. They said, okay, but now who are you? I froze. I didn't know what to say. Well, I was a mom. No, who are you? What do you do? I let that define me. Years ago, I knew exactly who I was. I was in a baseball academy at school. I had my life ahead of me. I was in that academy. I won awards for top academic, top athletic, top leadership, top scholar, top catcher. I had scholarships lined up to go down to the University of Kansas. I tried out for one team, and I made 3, and I was the captain of those. I knew exactly where my life's path was going to be going. And December 11th, 2007, everything changed. It was a normal morning. I went to the academy. It was worked into my schedule, so it was just something that I did every day. And something wasn't right, but I am incredibly stubborn, so I just kept going. I felt the pain. It was in my back, and it went down my leg a little, but I thought, no, you know what? I can do this. I kept running, and by the end of the run, I collapsed. I couldn't get up. And that is the day that has changed me forever. I had the top grades. That's just who I was. I was one of the best that I knew in my age range for that sport. I was a ball player, and suddenly that was completely stripped away from me. It was a part of my identity. I lost my friends. That was who I was. So I had to refine myself, and it was very difficult being in high school. It's already hard enough, let's be honest. And I sunk to such a low, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I lost my ability to use my body. My mom had to help me wash my hair. I couldn't lift my arms up. The pain went from my back. It ended up going up my head, around my sides, down my legs. Nothing worked properly anymore. And they couldn't tell me why. I went to the Children's Hospital. I drove myself there every couple of days to go for different appointments, and no one could tell me why. So I figured, you know what? I can't use my body the same way anymore. I'm going to use my mind. So I barreled through high school, and I realized I can't help myself anymore, so I'm going to help others. I became a behavior interventionist for some of the most severe cases of autism in Canada. self-injurious behavior, and it was really fulfilling for me. I had tried life insurance because I thought, hey, I'm going to help people, but that didn't work. That was terrible. So I got into this industry, and that is where things, started to get better. I saw, hey, I'm good at this too. I've got this. I met my husband. I started working the company with him. Things were really good. And shortly after we met, our little girl came, and that is when I became a mom. I became a really good mom too. And I put everything into the business. I realized I'm not going to go back to work. I faced that struggle that all new moms face. Do I go back to work and work with children so that someone can watch mine, or do I stay home? I chose both. I chose to work my ass off while raising my little girl. We bought a new house. Business was great. And I got pregnant with our second. And a couple months in, I fell down the stairs and I dislocated my tailbone. The pain all came back. It was more painful than childbirth. Unmedicated childbirth. I would do that any day over dislocating my tailbone. And I sunk so low. After I had him, I had postpartum depression, which a lot of people hear about, but I had something that not a lot of people talk about, which was postpartum anxiety. And the postpartum anxiety part of me couldn't let me get any help for it. I thought that my babies were going to be taken away from me. I thought the worst of it. I couldn't leave the house with both kids because if something happened to me in that one, at least my husband would still have one left. I looked up all the ways, if we got into a car crash and it started sinking, how do I get out of the car and save the babies? It was debilitating. I needed to find purpose. I knew that I was good at what I did, but I was so empty inside. I had the babies, I had my husband, but things were they just were. You ever get that where it's just, things aren't good, not bad, but they just were. And then I met someone, and this person has completely changed my life. I was talking to her, and she said, sounds like you need a breakthrough. So I went to her breakthrough weekend, and since then, it has completely changed me. And that was in December, 12 years later? Whatever that math is, 14 years later. But it was in December, and it was around a time that was really difficult for me because December always reminded me of that's when I got hurt. Since then, I am off all of my medication. Business is taking off. I finally see myself as and I'm all right, Mom. I'm a good mom, and my babies are well taken care of, and they are flourishing. I mean, she's 3, so she's doing as good as a 3-year-old can, and I'm surviving it, but we're fine. We'll get through. 4 is coming soon. And I realized that there was so much more. I am now a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and an NLP coach. I am starting up my own business alongside my husband because both have grown so much that I can oversee more things instead of being there, right in the nitty-gritty of it. I realized that all this time I had built this circle around me. And for the longest time, I thought it was a bubble that was protecting me. I thought, I'm not going to let anybody into my bubble. I didn't accept any help with the kids. I didn't accept any help with the business. We can do it. I'm fine. It never means fine. I think everyone knows that. This bubble that I created, I realized this wasn't protecting myself. This was holding the discomfort in. And it got really uncomfortable. So I decided to break through that bubble, and the possibilities that are happening now because of it, I couldn't have imagined. And I have never felt so calm. And it was a calm that I had been searching for. And I realized that no matter what happens, the more that you push through and keep going, take the breaks when you need it, but never give up. Because when you just push through, take care of yourself in those moments when you need it, and then keep on going, amazing things are going to happen. And, I never would have done this, so I appreciate you having me here. Thank you.
McKay Kasdorf, everyone.
Suki Bath has been selling quality pre-owned vehicles for 37 years. All of our vehicles come with a certified inspection report, and history reports are available for all vehicles. All of our sales staff is fully licensed. Visit sukibathmotors.com today.
All the stories that you're going to hear tonight are personal in nature, some of which can encroach on dark topics as addiction, abuse, self-harm, and you may get triggered by them. And if you do, there's a beautiful lounge to the back of XY that you can go down, chill out, get your composure. When you're ready, you can come and join us. So as I said earlier, I was Superman diving straight down this rabbit hole on a total path of destruction, primarily because I didn't want to feel. That's the bottom line. Didn't want to feel anything. To give you a rough time frame, this went for about 7 years until May 3rd, 2013. And that day will be forever etched in my memory because that was the day I crawled home from a all-night bender. And May 3rd, 2013 is a Friday morning. So the bender happened on a Thursday, and it actually started the Wednesday night before that. And I crawled home, looked at myself in the mirror, and I had a moment. And the voice inside my head basically said, if you don't change, you're going to be dead within 5 years. And I had a choice. And I chose not to die. But at that moment, I had a moment where I said, triggering myself just even telling you the story. It was a really weird place to be because one side of me just didn't care anymore. And then the other side of me goes, look, there's something more to you. And you have to choose. And you have to choose right now because you can't continue like this. So when May 3rd, 2018 came around and on my phone, a little reminder popped up and it said, you thought you'd be dead by now. That was a really cool wake-up call to how far I've come because I actually did forget. I didn't forget that moment, but I forgot what happened in those 5 years. Our next speaker had her journey and she had her moment. And I invite Bonnie and Nicole to the stage to share what that is.
Thank you. Courage. It takes a lot of courage to get up here and speak. It takes a lot of courage to live your life. And it takes even more courage to do the right thing. Going back as a child, everybody looked at me and said, oh, she's so lucky. She lives in a big mansion. Her grandma's rich. She gets whatever she wants. Life's easy. But it wasn't so easy for me. I was molested from the age of 2 into my teen years. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to live through. I didn't have courage to stand up to it. Instead, I let my parents and every other adult dictate how I was going to go on with my life. Now, we couldn't go public because that would ruin the image of the people in my family, being in the media. And so it was swept under the rug, like most abuse is, the elephant in the room, the stigma. And so life went on. And my mom grew this vengeance for me. Was it because her husband molested me? I don't know. All I do know is that her hatred for me grew so much that by the time I was 13, I left home and ended up living with my stepfather who molested me. So to stay from being molested again, I just started partying because that would keep me away from being home. So by 14, I was a full-fledged alcoholic, started doing drugs, was promiscuous, dropped out of school at 14. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. joined the carnival, moved to San Francisco. I mean, many stories of what I was doing, but really I was just running away from my problems, my truths. I married a man because I thought he loved me. And that's all I ever wanted from a child, was to be loved. I met this guy, and 31 days later, we were married. Our addiction spiraled out of control to the point that I didn't even know who I was when I looked in the mirror. My children did not like me. I didn't like me. Nobody liked me at the time. And something needed to change. Tried to get sober. Then Friday would come, I'd party. And Sunday would come, I'd try to get sober. It kept going and going and going until my brother-in-law and I got into a big fight. And hurt people. You know, talking behind someone's back or judging someone. When you do these things, it's because you're hurting inside. And I was so hurt because I couldn't tell my secrets because I was afraid of what people would think of me. And so my brother-in-law and I got in a fight. And I said, you need to get out of my house. I'm trying to get sober. That's it. Day one, I'm not going to party anymore. And he wouldn't leave unless I gave him money. Hurt people, right? And I threw a $100 bill at his face, and I said, why don't you go overdose? And 6 days later, he did. That was my breaking point, that something needed to change. It still took me a couple of months. October 16th, 2016 is my birthday. It's the day I got sober. I have now been sober 22 months. My children have a little bit more respect for me, but we have a ways to go. But what really changed my life was standing on a stage in front of a group of people and saying, I'm a survivor. And not one person looked at me with disgust in their eyes. But nobody knew who this person was. So I took it one step farther. And I went public on Facebook, on my blog, on stages, that it was my father, my stepfather. And when I did that, more people came out. I wasn't the only one. I was completely speechless. Here I thought that this was my story, but it was other people's story too. How am I going to stop this? So I pressed charges. The sad thing is that not everybody is willing to talk about sexual abuse. And because of that, my stepfather walks free because not one person will stand up and speak out on this case. I refuse to allow it to happen anymore. So I speak about it, and I tell everybody about it, and I help other people stand on their story and come out and say, I too am a survivor, that I too deserve a right to be free. Since coming out, I've lost my family. Kind of funny how, everybody needs to pick a side, and sometimes it's easier for everybody to keep sweeping it under the rug. So when I got sober and I came out about my story, my brother passed away, and my mom decided to do everything in her power to make sure that I wasn't a part of my brother's life. He was in the hospital for 24 hours. I didn't get to see him until an hour after he passed away. It was at that moment that I decided that I needed to go forward in my life alone. And if anybody was going to come with me, they were going to have the same values as me. And so I ditched my family, I moved, I changed my life, and I started a tribe. Alexis, I met her at the TMC. She too is a part of my tribe. Nobody can do this without a following of people that are going to support you. And not everybody has a very sad story like mine, but if we all band together with our stories, it becomes powerful, it becomes a movement. So I came out with this hashtag, and it was fuck shame. And the minute I came out and did that, I started owning everything about myself. I used to party and leave my kids at home. I was an addict. I made these choices because I didn't feel good about myself. So now that I've let it all out, nobody else can put it back in my face. And if you do, it doesn't bother me because I've already said it. So now it's been 22 months. I'm sober, off drugs, kids are doing better. Have no idea what my parents are doing. I have no idea. I have not talked to them. I'm a published author. I'm a business owner. I'm a public speaker and an all-around badass. And I really think that we need to start talking about childhood sexual abuse in the same context that we talk about child car seat safety. Why do we talk about buckling our kids up, but we don't talk about the right and wrong for adults and children and what is okay for touching? And when we bring our children out, we don't teach them what is right and wrong. I never had that. And because of that, I kept all my secrets to myself. And so now I tell my children, and I tell my children the same thing when they're seeing someone get bullied at school. You don't know their story. I was bullied at school for crying all the time. I cried all the time because my mom beat me all the time. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. So instead of being mean to someone, why not reach a hand out and say, can I help you? And that's what I'm here for, to change the world. Because I think if we all stand on our story and hold each other's hand through it, we'll make this world a better place. Because everybody has a reason to be here. And if I can come from there to here, anybody can do it. Thank you.
Bonnie Nicole, badass indeed.
Kingsway Vacuum Sales and Service has a variety of janitorial supplies. Oh, and they do have vacuums. And they're on Kingsway, 4 blocks west of Boundary.
I'm Fender Benavides, sales and finance for drive promoters in Coquitlam. We have over 1,200 vehicles in our dealer group. Guaranteed financing available. No credit, bad credit, or new to the country. I am here to help. Salamat po.